Hey guys, this is Camfrey15 back at it with another video for you guys, and I'm back with another My Hero Academia manga chapter review for you guys. And well, we get a continuation of what the reveal of the UA traitor was last week, and we get to see what is going to potentially happen next and stuff like that. Now, I called it last week. I think Aoyama is going to die, as well as his family. All for one in this chapter makes even more of a point to why he could essentially dispose of Aoyama. But I'm still calling that, even though we see at the end of the chapter what happens. This is a very emotional, heart-tugging chapter. And again, another great chapter by Deku, just showing like, okay, this guy is like, he's legit. He's what a true hero should embody and stuff like that. Those are my little thoughts, but let's get into the manga chapter review. So this is My Hero Academia chapter 337, titled A Disposable Life. Anyways, we cut over to the side of the League of Villains areas, and obviously Dobby's like, friends to spare, huh? And he goes into saying, aren't we screwed if we get one of our friends, if one of our friends, which he's talking about the spy, gets caught in everything. And essentially all for one's like, please, no, that it's not gonna happen. He goes on to say, say your 100 yen lighter fizzles out, what would you do? When my friends succeed, I rejoice. Well, should they fail, well, I just essentially dispose of that and find it as a disappointment, and I just go on to the next route of plans and stuff like that. So yeah, essentially all for one's telling Dobby like, listen, whenever my plans fail, it's like, oh, okay, that sucks, well, I guess I'm gonna go with route B now, which goes to show you that this man's like a master planner and stuff like that. And like I said earlier, in the video, I see all for one gets to say they're less like friends, they're more like disposable tools. And I say hip hooray for any slight excitement they can inflict. So there's the quote right there, saying of all for one essentially saying, yeah, when I have these people in my alliances and stuff like that, and I'm using them, well, they're just disposable tools to me. Now, I think this should be something within the League of Villains that they need to get their ears up and perking up, because then they got to hear that they're gonna be like, wait, what? So you just use people and then you just throw them away if they just bail you out. So one, I'll just say this, because I know there's several League of Villain members that not really are cool with all wrong. We know freaking Spinner is one of those guys where he's like, I don't know about this all for one guy. I kind of more was doing all this stuff for Shigaraki and stuff like that. We already know that's been implemented in Spinner's head, like, I don't know about you, all for one. So I think the other League of Villain members need to keep their ears perked up and needs to keep the eyes be like, okay, is this guy gonna turn on me and stuff like that. So yeah, but we get essentially, I guess you can say, confirmation here that, well, all for one sees anybody that assists him as, well, tools and disposable ones at best. We know what happened with the Lady Nagant situation. All for one gave Lady Nagant a quirk, and guess what? When Deku brought Lady Nagant back into the light, where he was telling her, listen, you can still be a hero, I see in your eyes, and Lady Nagant believed him and was, stunned by this and was willing to take Deku's hand. Guess what all for one did? He disposed of her and blew her up and damn near put her on a deathbed, to where, guess what? She's gonna pull through, but just barely. And that's why I said last week, in my manga chapter review, that I think he's going to find a way to kill Aoyama as a way to be like, you turned on me, and because of that, you and your family are going to die, and he's gonna probably kill them. Like I said, would that be very dark to kill a kid essentially in your series? Yes, but it would make a point mention in my eyes of, well, all for one's not playing around. He really wants to be a demon lord and take over everything. And if it's by any means to do it and to shut down any, trails to find him, then he'll kill even kids to do it, and stuff like that. Because let's be honest, when he gets his hands, if he gets his hands truly on One for All, steals it away from Deku, he's probably just gonna kill Deku right then and there. He's like, I don't need you anymore. You're dead. So that's the thing there and everything. So I definitely do believe, again, it's not a confirmation that it's going to happen, but it's just a plot point to be like, okay, All for One can probably off Aoyama and his family like right now, and stuff like that. So we'll just have to see what happens. I think it's gonna happen. It would lead to probably, I would say, honorable sacrifice. I definitely could see it where they use this as a way as an honorable sacrifice after, especially what we see in the end of the chapter. If obviously Aoyama wants to repent for his sins and everything that he's done, like that. Anyways, we cut back over to what happened in what's happening in the forest area, with Deku and Aoyama's parents. They grab Aoyama and they start running away and stuff like that. Now Deku follows him, everything. Now, Aoyama in his head is essentially monologuing, saying, "My being quirkless caused you no small amount of dismay." He's talking about in regards to his mom and dad. He goes on to say, both of you came from wealthy, privileged families and never wanted anything for your own lip bringings. And the two of you fretted over my being different from other children even more than I do. That's why, hoping against all hope and wishing only for my happiness, you dared to believe in a dubious rumor. Now, apparently this rumor was the fact that there was somebody that said that there's this guy that can give you quirks and everything, and they found out about this information, I'm guessing from like their doctor or some other source in their, like, I guess in their culture, with the fact that there's definitely rich people out there. It would not be a shock, because we know there's always stories about how rich, wealthy people, they essentially know deep and dark parts of like underground crime and stuff like that. So it wouldn't shock me that around the wealthy world, All for One was being passed around as the guy. Oh, this guy can give people quirks and everything and stuff like that. So that's probably how that happened. Word got out and people are like, oh, passed on and stuff like that, where maybe Aoyama's parents like, yeah, we have a son, but he's kind of quirkless. And they probably said, oh, really? You did hear that there's rumor going on about this guy somewhere that can give you a quirk. And that's probably like, wait, really? And the dude was probably like, yeah, I heard about that. I don't know if there's any truth to those rumors, but apparently I heard there's a rumor like that. So that's the thing. And I forgot to make a mention in this in my last video, but another reason you can say that Aoyama was the traitor it was just unique of how the fact that his quirk was really truly never compatible to him until he got a support item and stuff like that. Because we know with quirks, typically you're compatible with your quirks and your quirks are fine with you because, well, you get that passed down from your parents based on what type of quirk or whatever quirk you just end up with, you're fine with it. But with Aoyama, his quirk wasn't made for his body. And a lot of people were like, his quirk is not made for his body. He needs a support item to do that. So he has to be the traitor. And I forgot to mention that in my last video. That was one of the leading, because All for One gave him the quirk, but it just was never compatible with him. And it always hurt him and everything and stuff like that. So that was another thing I forgot. He goes on to say, I suffered at the hands of my new quirk when it was poor fit for my body. While you, mama, and Baba grapple with your own angst as you raised me, because you so feared me being different. My own dream sprang from that desire to conform. Yes, at some point I hope to give back as you had done so much. And we find out that All for one of his first orders to the Aoyama family was the fact that he's like, listen, I'm gonna need you to apply. You're going to apply in UA. Really? Okay, we'll try. We'll do whatever you can to get into UA, because I heard that All Might is going to be essentially a teacher, and he's gonna be hired. So guess what? You're gonna be attending UA, ifs, ands, or buts and stuff like that. And we just get a panel where it's just, we see, flashbacks to every one of the main, well, mostly two of the main incidents that happened in Class 1A at the start of the series, which is the USJ attack, and the forest training camp arc and everything. And, you have All for One saying, tell me when your class is going to be isolated and tell me the location of your training camp thing. Now that Izuku Midori has returned to UA, this is the current plan. Now, the whole thing was now that Deku has been back to UA, the next, mission sent from All for One to the Aoyama family is lure him somewhere, lure him away somewhere, so I can be able to capture him and take him in and stuff like that. So yeah. And that's the whole thing. And in this meantime, I almost kind of saying acting in the service of others in pursuit of their happiness, giving one of myself for everyone else's sake. Now Aoyama goes and say, no, that note you left, when I learned that you were quirkless like me, I fell into utter despair. Essentially, Aoyama saying, listen, you in that letter saying that you're quirkless, it broke me because I was in the same situation as you were in and stuff like that. And in the meantime, Aoyama is using his laser naval ability, and Deku starts up his one for all. He essentially fires off his naval laser, which I never thought, Aoyama would have used. But Hagakure gets involved, redirects the attack, and Aoyama goes in to say, my body lets me refract light. And Hagakure goes on to say, we could have been killed time after time, and now all of Japan is totally messed up. And she goes on to say, what was going through your head with this whole time in school with us? And in this panel, we see Hagakure's face. We see Toru Hagakure's face reveal happen, and we finally see the face of what Hagakure looks like. Now they fully don't color it in. It's like we see it, so maybe they're teasing the fact that, well, guess what? We're going to see what she truly looks like, and I'm very hoping much we do. And it's seemingly we can see that she can turn herself visible now. I don't know if Horikoshi just did this type of face reveal or did this drew this just as a way to show expression on Hagakure's face of how she's truly feeling about this situation. We don't know if she's truly turning visible. I think she is turning visible because it makes sense, but I could also understand if Horikoshi's just using this as a symbiotic way to show Hagakure how emotional she is with all these developments and everything, and stuff like that. But I definitely hope to see what Hagakure truly does look like. We see what she looks like, but I hope she eventually gets to the point where she shows herself more off, which goes to show you that maybe she can turn herself visible, and she's just been kind of keeping herself invisible. I've always said it doesn't make no sense for Hagakure to just be, okay, you're just straight up invisible. Why can't you turn yourself visible? You should be like the Invisible Woman. So maybe the next step in her training is finding a way to turn herself visible to be seen amongst the populace. Now, obviously, when it pertains to her hero costume, she's literally naked. So it's yeah. But we'll see. Anyways. Hagakure goes on to say, living in the dorms with us even. Well, say something, Aoyama. And Aoyama's just breaking down. Eventually, his parents are like, you have it wrong. Our dearly Yuga only ever. And then Deku manages to pin down Aoyama and capture his parents using his black whip. And Deku goes on to say, listen, Aoyama, Hagakure just did you a favor. She doesn't want you hurting anyone else, okay? So come on, enough. Let's stop this. Just let this be over. And Deku saying it's crying. We cut over back to UA, and Aoyama and his family are captured within the halls of UA, and everybody now is finding out that Aoyama and his family are the UA traitors and stuff like that. Sukauchi goes on to say the quirk was granted about a decade. So the fact that the kid sitting here in one piece tells us that he's not rigged to blow in case of betrayal. That way Nagant was. Now, Nezuru, our principal Nezu, goes on to ask everybody, please let me just leave the room and stuff like that. Just he asked the children, like, listen, leave the room and stuff like that. But we cover Class 1A, and they're very obviously shocked and emotional. Mina's very emotional because she's crying all over this and stuff like that. And in response to what Nezu said, Todoroki says, no, we're not going to. We're going to stay here, and we're going to listen to everything we're a class here, and we're a class together and stuff like that. Everybody's obviously shocked. You have freaking you have freaking Kirishima saying like, bro, what the hell is going on? Tell us about this crap that's going on. Freaking Ojiro, who's holding on to Hagakure right now, and he's like, what were you planning if Hagakure wasn't gonna catch you and stuff like that? Kaminari goes on to say like, this doesn't make no sense. And like I'm saying, you can clearly see other Class 1A characters. Other Class 1A characters in the scene are Jiro, Mina, Todoroki's in the scene. We see Mineta and even Shoji. Now we can't see Shoji's face reaction, but you can definitely see Kaminari's, most of the other members of Class 1A in this. We see even freaking Momo, and she's in utter shock and everything. Ochako's in shock and very emotional, not crying anything like Mina's crying. And it was nice because I was watching another video, and the thing is, they brought up the fact that Mina truly, like, she's kind of breaking down this whole situation because she doesn't want all these things to happen. The fact that Midnight is died, it freaking struck her. The whole Deku situation is saying that she just wants things to go back to normal and everything. She said in that fight with Deku, like, just come back so things can be like they used to be. We just know Mina is kind of getting very like stressed out with every one of these plot twists and turns, to where it's literally affecting, she finds it way it's affecting their regular day livelihood and everything. And the fact that a class student that they were sitting next to and they were friends with were essentially like literally a traitor to them, she's very emotional from the standpoint like, why is this happening and stuff like that? Like, can we stop with this? Can we stop with somebody from our class being affected by this situation and stuff like that? So yeah, Mineta, he's just like, what the hell, and stuff like that. But Jiro's obviously just in utter shocked and stuff like that. She's holding Mina to keep herself like composed and everything and stuff like that. Now Baku goes on to make the mention the fact, another quirkless one, huh? Small world, huh? It's like someone else I know, and everything. Now Shuka Uchi goes on to say, we're still struggling to restore law and order, so you need to tell us every last thing about All for One and what he made you do. And Aoyama's father goes on to answer, he's like, listen, we know nothing, and all we do is we make his request that we obey, that's all. And he goes on to say that like, if we fail, then he will kill us. So we can't lie to him. And essentially Shuka Uchi is like, okay, kill you, but how is he going to do that? And essentially all for one essentially showed the Aoyama family, like, he showed us a demonstration of how it was going to happen to those who defied him and stuff like that. He goes and say it was some lackey who surrendered to the police. They were killed soon after leaving the prison, so they couldn't escape him. Wherever we run, he'll find us and make us face our doom, and stuff like that. So yeah, he goes on to say Yuga had no way of knowing what would happen. Each of those followed orders. Each time he followed those orders, he only knew that he must not fall under suspicion. We are the ones to blame, and stuff like that. Now Aoyama goes on to say, your deaths could have been could very well been on my head, and yet I found myself smiling alongside you guys as if I were your friends and stuff like that. Then we learned about Deku being quirkless, and he goes and say, yet he faces the crushing task that's standing up to All for One. I despaired when I realized how pathetic I am compared to him. And he goes on to say, rather than express concern for Midoriya, I wallowed in my own misery, which sent me spiraling even deeper to the core. I'm rotten. I, Yuga Aoyama, am a villain through and through. And then that's when Deku comes in and his whole thing ends chapter. And he goes on to say, So, okay, Aoyama, you believe that? You really believe that? Then why back at the training camp arc did you help to save Tokoyami and Bakugo? He goes to make the mention about the cheese being left with the message, I know. And going on to say, he said, the cheese you left me that night. Did All For One order you to do that too? And everything. And Deku goes on to say, I highly doubt he did. Of course not. He goes on to say, I'm kicking myself for not realizing that the cheese message was essentially an SOS message from you. He goes on to say, you're bawling your eyes out now clearly isn't because you failed All For One. And Deku goes on to make the mention of the fact that, a past experience, not recently, he goes on to make a mention about Lady Nagani. He's saying, look, I know a hero who was used by All For One, but I still saw, I still saw the hero within her, even though she was a convicted villain. I still saw she had the hope and the aspirations of being a hero within her eyes. And guess what? She didn't even give up her entire soul for his cause and stuff like that, even though she was manipulated by him, and stuff like that. It was just the spirit that was crushed and everything. And I did love how freaking All Might is shocked by this whole talk that Deku's saying. He's like, young Midoriya, and stuff like that, which goes to show you that Deku, he is a great character, and he's just like I'm telling you, dude. Some of the, again, another great moment of his speeches where he's just like, now that he can freaking just express the whole thing about All For One, it makes him so much better as a character, because it's like he can get these things off his chest and not feel restricted to say it, and stuff like that. Deku goes on to say, doing it wrong doesn't make you a villain for the rest of your life. And he lends out his hands and he goes on to say, Aoyama, take my hand, and stuff like that. And Bakugo's realizing, like, wait, Deku, are you trying to do what I think you're doing, which is the thing of using Aoyama to find information about All For One, so then they can track All For One down and be able to continue to fight and stuff like that. And the chapter ends off with Deku pleading out to Aoyama, raising his hand out, like many times we've seen in the symbiotic, in the series as symbiotic, when he's did it to Bakugo back when they were kids, freaking when All Might did it to him, giving him All For One and everything, saying you can still be a hero. And that's where the chapter ends off. There's no break next week for chapter 338, but this was a really good chapter. I definitely enjoyed it and stuff like that. So I would envision there's gonna be no break next week, but the week later after next week is probably gonna be a break, because next week is gonna be Christmas. I think Christmas is actually on freaking Saturday too. If I look at my thing, yeah, Christmas is on Saturday, so there'll probably be no chapter next week. I would highly doubt it. I think Horikoshi is going to take a week off or two for the new year as well as Christmas. We're not going to see a manga chapter for the next incoming weeks, the next 2 weeks for My Hero Academia. This was a good chapter. I'm going to be very interested to see what's going to happen next. I don't know. It would be a crazy plot twist if freaking Aoyama doesn't take Deku's hand and stuff like that. And probably says like, hey, I'm sorry, but I can't take your hand. My hand's covered in filth, and stuff like that, because I'm a villain and everything. But this was a great thing. It goes to show you that, Deku, he really does not distinct, people as heroes and villains. He just sees them as people who need help, who need saving. And if it gets to the point where somebody's just doing these bad things where they're just going to continue to do them, then Deku knows I have to stop them. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens next. I definitely enjoyed this chapter. The face reveal for Toru Hagkure was great. But other than that, guys, I'm going to get out of here. Hopefully, you guys have a great rest of your day and I've channel this video. Until then, guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Hit that subscribe button if you want to get more My Hero Academia content and stuff like that. Until then, guys, see you guys later. Peace.